If all of that wasn't interesting enough, wait until you hear this. The accepted theorized explanation for how the ancients would have moved these massive stones was said to be with the use of ropes, pulleys, and also by rolling the stones over tree logs to get them from point A to point B. For example, it's been suggested that the eucalyptus tree would have been used to do that, as it is abundant in Peru, and these trees grow tall and straight, reaching heights of 180 feet, and remarkably fast. In fact, they can grow to 100 feet in just 10 years alone. But here's the issue with that. The eucalyptus tree is not native of South America and was brought from Australia in the mid and latter part of the 1800s. Most people are not aware of this. And it actually wasn't even until the 1970s that the Peruvian government orchestrated the widespread creation of eucalyptus forests to help their citizens have access to firewood and for creating infrastructure. So no, the eucalyptus tree was not utilized by the ancients to move stone blocks as some have suggested. And this is a significant detail when you consider that the largest native tree of Peru, of course excluding the trees found in the Amazon rainforest, which borders Peru on the other side of the Andes Mountains, but the largest tree native in this area is a quinwana. I'm definitely mispronouncing that, so forgive me, but here's the thing. This tree does not grow any higher than 4 meters or 13 feet, but not only that, its trunks never grow straight, as you can see for yourself. This is a relatively small tree, and the very nature of the shape that it grows could not have at all been conducive for rolling massive stone blocks or for rolling anything else for that matter. You see, this is what I'm talking about. It's not until you investigate the more nuanced details that you can fully appreciate just how much of a mystery we're dealing with here.
All right, so let's examine this in regards to Ollantaytambo. Like, they didn't even have trees. They'll steal your trees, these people. There's a world map. There's the Inca Empire at its height. It's very, very, very big. Southern Colombia down into the lower part of Chile. A lot bigger than Egypt was at its height. Top right, we see screenshots from the how did they move these massive stones, therefore Lost Ancient High Technology. So apparently he's looked at these. So there we see the Amazon biome. Okay, so that's a literal screenshot from there. We zoom in. Well, there's Cusco. All right, so now we'll put that onto Google Earth. There's the Incan Empire. It was huge. It was on the west side of the Andes, or on the east side of the Andes, from the Pacific to the Amazon. One of the largest empires ever known. They also controlled large section of the Pacific coast. When the Spaniards arrived, they found that they were trading, sailing, boating, shipping along the Pacific coast there. Collected taxes, tribute from a huge area of land. Apparently they couldn't have trees though. All right, now also got to add this. Inca they knew a thing or two about ropes and knots. Their record keeping system was based on knots. Their rope bridges, they knew how to make rope. They knew how to tie knots. Whether it was those reed boats on Lake Titicaca or these that were going along the Pacific coast, you can't just lash something like this together with a shoelace knot. You have to tension the knot to make those masts. You can't just sort of tie it together and just do a bodgy shoelace knot. You have to know something about mechanical advantage to tighten and tension that knot. Even if you got it really tight when you set the boat out, the moving and rocking of a boat is going to loosen that knot. There is no way that they did not have basic mechanical advantage, levering or hitch knots or so forth, but all the elements that are essential still to this date in regards to crane technology. That's not mentioned, but it's always, well, what aboutisms? Well, let's put that one in there. All modern lifting technology comes from, like this usually referred to as lifting and rigging, anything to do with cranes. It all goes back to sailing knowledge. So using knots and compound pulleys, levers or capstans to sail, it's just an essential. Okay, so Incan Empire, capital at Cusco. The highlighted area is the Inca Empire at its height at the time of the arrival of the Spaniards. So, but how did this mighty empire get trees to Ollantaytambo to move these massive blocks? It's a nuance that no one talks about. It's an unsolved mystery. It's not feasible that it was done with basic tech anyway. So Inca heartland is on the eastern or the Amazon side of the Andes. Again, these people have been there, taken money from people, and and poo-pooing the academics, and they're not talking the nuances. Well, not even the basic the geography of the place do they understand? Okay, so Inca heartland is on the eastern side of the Amazon. When it very begun, the core part of the Inca realm, such as Machu Picchu, is in the Amazon. It's not just neighbouring the Amazon, and they controlled land beyond that. They literally control parts of the Amazon, the Peruvian Amazon. So Machu Picchu couldn't be any closer to the Amazon without being part of the Amazon. When people such as Hiram Bingham arrived, they had to chop it out of the jungle. Machu Picchu is jungle. From there, so there on the right-hand side, you can see the Inca Pachacuti. The very beginnings of the Inca Empire, from Lake Titicaca, but the important part is that on the eastern side, they controlled parts of the Amazon. So they had Amazon trees, but that's not even necessary. All right, so again, if you want to find the Inca heartland, take a big map of the Amazon and then follow those major branches to it. The origin point of which is, all sources of rivers are usually contested, but the source of the Amazon is pretty much Inca. If you want to find those places, or Ollantaytambo, Cusco, just follow the Amazon River back to its sources from those major branches there. Then the Cuena, they only had this tree, and it does grow straight in parts, and that is more than enough to make the rollers, because you don't need these giant pieces. But that to the side, this is the smallest native tree pretty much to the Andes mountain. It's a very important tree because it holds the world record for growing at altitude. You will find this tree in the high Andes. Ollantaytambo, Machu Picchu, and most of Inca is not in the high Andes. It's on the eastern side of the Andes, bordering the Amazon biome, and by most definitions inside the Amazon biome, and again, just down the road from Ollantaytambo is jungle. And so here, again, like trees, Peruvian Andes, there on the top, you see it's a small native tree of the Andes. Its leaves are small, the trunk is crooked, its bark is reddish, it's peeled like paper, and is known as the Taurus tree. But there are other trees. The cinchona, it's on the Peruvian coat of arms. It's a very famous tree because it was used to make tonic water. It was one of the treatments for malaria. And again, it's on the coat of arms, and it grows throughout this region. They also have Ceibo, which grows up to 25 metres in height with a 2 metre diameter in its trunk. So there are these trees growing in the Peruvian Andes, and it's not esoteric lost knowledge forbidden only to the academics. This is just found on Google. So the Inca were bordering the Amazon. They're not on the other side of the mountains. They friggin' are essentially Amazonian, and they had, like, this empire they can control a huge empire, but for a major building project they couldn't bring some trees from a neighbouring region. Or again, that's not even important because they had their own trees at their doorstep to do that. So it's like a Malaysian logging company hasn't tried to steal this many trees as what Lost High Technology will do to take away from, they'll take away their trees to try and take away that the Inca could do this, therefore cataclysm, something, Younger Dryas, something. Machu Picchu is jungle. There's the height of the elevation. So again, just around the river bend from Machu Picchu, you're at 5,280 feet or 1 mile. To put that into context, Denver, Colorado is at 1 mile. Trees grow at that elevation. That's jungle there at Machu Picchu, and then you go further down. Ollantaytambo, you can just see from the greenery, it is not jungle. It is now you're starting to climb into the higher Andes, but you're not in the high Andes yet. And it's they had trees. So again, Inca jungle trek to Machu Picchu. Again, they've been here. Trees larger than this small, very high altitude tree grows all along this valley. And again, you can see it. You can go on to Google Street View and just follow the river and just look at the jungle, which is just down the road, or the trees which grow in Ollantaytambo now. And you will see eucalyptus amongst them, but they had other trees growing in this region. It is I don't know, the depths they will go to perpetuate this, that they couldn't do it, therefore something cataclysm, something Younger Dryas, lost high technology. I mean, it's pissing all over the Inca. Like it's just ridiculous. And it's stupid. They've been there. Like to say something like that. How would you not have done some basic research? So again, before I do the full video in regards to where the quarry is, all the evidence for that, how the stones were brought over, the roads, ramps, and all the other things that go in there. This has to be dealt with separately. It's a comical video, really, this one. But this is the nuance that they're not telling you about this. Some have suggested it was eucalyptus. Who suggested it was eucalyptus? And like they had trees, and it's so easy to find. Like it's on their friggin' coat of arms is a larger tree. So it's very, very cringe, and it's quite remarkable. Sort of really and unexplainable. Now, if it's on its own, but again, with this, I showed that clip. In the longer one, I'll show it's like they throw muck at the skeptic academics and the nuances that they're not telling you. Like, this is pure fiction, what he's saying. It's completely made up. Or he's utterly ignorant of what he is talking about. Either way, it's stupid, it's cringe, it's damaging to the alternative, so to speak, and I consider myself to be amongst that. I've got a lot of weird, wacky ideas, but and there are a lot of other people who have weird, wacky ideas, but they try and base them on research and evidence. But then people like this, and they get millions of views, they go on like Joe Rogan and spout this BS, and it is absolute BS, and you can't go onto a decent history site with a comment section anymore where you don't get people repeating bright insights, level of stupidity and nonsense. So it's damaging in that way too. Like they're shutting down conversations because they're fanboys, and if you're one of them, I'm sorry, but you're just you're ruining things for reasonable people with all these stupid comments, like you can't cut this with that, and this can't be, and you can't lift, and modern cranes can't lift that, and they can't. No, you're literally wrong in every friggin' thing that you say, and you get it from dickheads like this. So the Inca had larger trees. I'm not, again, I played the clip. I'm not making this up. This is the kind of nonsense that is the foundation that underlies all their claims. And they show, like, oh, look, here's a map. Therefore, did you examine the map? No, you didn't. Or you did, and you're bullshitting. And so, yeah, that's just like another nonsense in regards to that. And if you mock you deserve to be mocked. And if you mock with absolute ignorant garbage, like the Inca didn't have only these small little, where did they get the tree? They didn't, how could they move with levers and roll? No, they didn't have it. Yes, they did. And it's unexplainable that you're not aware of it.
Matter. You see, this is what I'm talking about. It's not until you investigate the more nuanced details that you can fully appreciate just how much of a mystery we're dealing with here. Are not even the largest that exist at this already impressive ancient site. What you're seeing here is an approximately 80-ton granite block, so large that it's difficult to capture a full photo of it, as it's been blocked by another massive stone, and the area directly in front of it is roped off, and the guides who work at this site strictly prohibit anyone from crossing the barrier. However, you can get an idea for its incredible length when viewing it from behind, as you can see here, and I took most of these photos myself while visiting Peru last August. But I did find this photo on Google, which shows a bit more of it, and thankfully compared to people. I do not know the specific dimensions of this stone, but I estimated that it is perhaps 20 to 30 feet in length, or 6 to 9 meters. And again, one solid piece of stone. Make no mistake, this thing is an absolute behemoth.
So let's examine this claim that this stone is the heaviest on the site, and that it is estimated at 80 tons. So here we have the picture that he provides. So we can use this fella standing here and be generous and assume, compared to the other people, let's say he's 6 feet tall. Use that as a gauge. Okay, now you can see where I've got the white line just above it, that stone is sitting on another piece underneath, so just highlighting there so no confusion. And then we use that gauge, and so it's 4.25 feet high. Here is his picture where we show it from the side, so we've established it's 4.25 feet high. We can use that to say, and we can find that it is 3 feet wide. Here's a drone view of that same stone. I've highlighted it in blue, and just again, so there's no, you can see the small, so if I go back and forth, on the left hand side of that stone there is another piece connecting it, and I chose that picture because you can see the shadow that it's beneath that largest stone there that I'm indicating, that it is, there's, well, 2 other stones beneath it. So that's the actual stone that we need to look at. So there it is in another view, and so we can find it at, well, we know the height 4.25, so let's use that gauge, and it is 1, 2, 3 and almost 4, but let's just call it 4, so that would put it at 17 feet long. So we know it's 3 feet wide, 4.25 feet high, 17 foot long. That's 216.75 cubic feet, or 6.14 cubic meters. The stone here is rhyolite, and that's at 2.4 tons per cubic meter. And the stone there is not of the best quality rhyolite either, so I'm being generous again in there. So this stone that's estimated at 80 tons is actually 14.736 tons. Very close. As far as estimates go, it's again an awesome job by Lost Ancient High Technology. So we're only 65 tons off. Very close. All right. I posted a video already. The largest stone is the one I'm pointing to there. That is 42.7 tons. Generous again. Almost certainly less than that, but that's being very, very generous. And again, being very generous, is apparently the largest stone of 80 tons is 14.736, so we're way off. So here's another view. I'm highlighting that stone there as well. This is a drone view, so you get a view from the top, and that's important because notice the impregnable, I'm messing that up now, I'm getting tongue-tied, but this high security piece of white rope where the security guards, and you can't take this picture because the security guards are there. Well, you can see where the rope goes, so all you got to do is just like walk around and take a picture from behind. There is no issue at all in regards to getting those photos and taking even estimates just from there. And as I just showed, it's from those photos, as long as you got someone standing there or some sort of close estimate of a height of a person or of an object, you can work these things out really easily. So again, this high security rope, it's a common trope that goes through these Lost High Technology videos. So whether they do the same thing in Egypt, they'll lift the weights up really high. They'll say, well, this item in the museum has been moved since I was there last. They're trying to cover it up. It's on public display in the museum, and then they moved it to another cabinet. This is, what are the Egyptologists? What are the people who study Incan history? What are they trying to hide? Well, they're not hiding nothing. It's the same trope. Lift things up much heavier than what they are. Take people's a bit like this knucklehead just stole their trees. He tried to put the Inca on the other side of the Andes Mountains, and this is how they work. So here's a Google Street View. So I'm standing on top of that wall, the Great Wall, and you can see what's actually behind there. But I'm highlighting again that stone. You can see the tourists standing around there. There is no blockage. The security guards aren't trying to cover this thing up. You just got to walk a few meters around, the high security impregnable rope to get there. So you can take a photo. It's just like with notice that there's trees in the background, and being an Australian, I can spot a eucalypt from 100 miles, and I can spot some that might be eucalypts, but the bulk of those trees are not eucalyptus. So again, the Inca had trees. Large native trees still grow in that part of the Andes. The stones, there's no cover up in regards to being able to access and get this type of information. They had trees. The stone is estimated 80 tons. Is nowhere close to it. And this is it's like a common pattern. They accuse others of exactly what they are guilty of themselves. Confession through projection, I think, is the term of what's going on. And so I'll end the video here. I've used those quotes. Now in the next video I want to just focus on the quarry, the evidence for the quarrying techniques, how they moved the blocks and the ramp, which literally goes right to the site. And yet the Lost Ancient High Technologists stand on top of a ramp taking photos. They don't see it, and then make all these types of long videos about the impossible, like how did they drag it up a mountain, literally standing on the ramp. That is the answer to that. I'm just asking. I'm a truth seeker. I'm just asking questions. This is a common thing, that common argument they'll try and say. I'm being covered up, and so everything that they do here in South America is exactly what they do in Egypt. They accuse others of covering up or not investigating. They lift up. They make the job much harder than what it is by adding weights to the stone. Saying other people haven't done their work, and then again, it's not just about this side or not just about Egypt. There's a method to what they do, and the method is little different from any con man or more importantly from any cult. Now, whether let's not pick on any cults, but the common thing is we are secret keepers of knowledge. We have this knowledge, and everyone is against us. And what we're doing is going to save the earth, and the Younger Dryas, therefore cataclysm, and we're going to save the world because we're studying these things, and everyone's against us. And join us on our journey to seek the truth. Well, that's how this is how cults work. And so I say it often, and I'll say it again. It's not just about the bad, not even bad, absolute lack of research. It's also about the accusations against other people. And so anyone who's watching this, well, why are you being so mean to him? These knuckleheads are mean to everyone all the time, accusing them of criminality, cover-ups and so forth. And so it's not just about the damage to the history, it's also they're stealing money from people to go on these tours. And you see honest, genuine people paying their life savings for these overpriced tours, which spread nothing but, I don't even want, it's misinformation, that word's now got very political, but they are misinformation agents. And the fact of that is that even when they're corrected politely, they still keep spewing out the same things that they know to be untrue. And so that's why I'm saying that they are the corrupt ones. They are the ones covering things up. They are the bad researchers, total lack of research. They're very lazy. So either they're really lazy and stupid, that's the charitable description of what they are, or they are just con men, and I lean firmly to the con men, because I've tried to engage with them, I've provided them with information, other people have too, and they cover it up and then they repeat it once more. So next video will be the final one on Ollantaytambo. I want to go through, let's just, what's the actual evidence, which is openly available, yet you'll never find links to it in the Lost Ancient High Technologists. I'm just asking questions. I don't want answers. I'm just asking questions, but don't give me answers. So we'll provide you with the answers in the next one. And but like, when do they get a single thing right? That's the real key thing. Even when they're provided the answers, they don't want you to know. They don't want to know. It's about money for them. It's about money. With that, cheers and have a good one.